Our eyes collided, and I winced. He stood on the other end of my car in the cocky pose I'd come to expect from him, backpack slung over one shoulder, hands in the front pockets of his jeans, brilliant blue eyes studying me with a wicked gleam. A zing shot right through me. That gleam still had the power to make me weak in the knees. "Are you hiding from me again, Lorraine Cooper?" he said, in a deep, hypnotic voice, and my entire body flushed in response to the sexy timbre. I wanted to savor this feeling forever. "No, I dropped my folder, see?" I wiped the wetness off the red leather cover. He flashed a sexy grin, and my traitorous heart leaped. I knew the smile too well. It said he knew I was lying, but chose to ignore it. "How do you know my name?" "Mrs. Rutledge told me." I thoroughly disliked that gossipy neighbor, but I forgave her this time. I was still annoyed at her for this morning. She'd crossed herself when she saw me, and then hurried back inside her house as though I was the devil's spawn. I guessed everyone around town knew about the incident at the meet. I hoped they wouldn't start a witch hunt. Being burned at the stake didn't exactly fit into my future plans. Then something Torrin had said registered. "What do you mean by hiding from you again?" "You disappeared after you'd kissed me." My cheeks grew warm. Trust him to bring that up. "You think I left because we, kissed?" "You kissed me," he corrected, that charming, wicked grin broadening as my face grew hot. "I went on a cruise with my parents to get away from, me." "Everything," I glared at him. "My mother thought we needed a break from Caville and the endless tragedies, so we'd taken a 10-day Hawaiian cruise. It had nothing to do with you." "Yeah, sure." Of course he wouldn't believe me. I waited for his next question. "Come on, ask why I kissed you." He continued to study me, curiosity replacing smugness, but the question didn't appear. "Shall we?" he asked, indicating the school entrance. I loved the formal way he'd worded that, his British accent rearing its head. "Aren't you going to ask why?" I asked, walking to his side. "Why what?" "Why I did it." My face burned, but I couldn't afford to stop. Too much was at stake. "Why I kissed you." Torrin blinked as though surprised by my boldness. He chuckled. "No, I already know why. Women always find an excuse to throw themselves at me. I'm more interested in why you cried. No one cries after kissing me." Seriously, he could be so arrogant sometimes. "Well, I did it because I was angry." His eyebrows rose until they almost met the locks falling on his forehead. "With me?" He sounded like that was unheard of. "Yes and no. You forgot about me." He gave me a slow perusal. "I don't think I'd forget meeting you, Lorraine Cooper. You, on the other hand, would forget you because Norns erase mortals' memories after they meet with Valkyries," I said, speaking so fast my tongue tripped. Plan A had better work. I took a deep breath and continued slowly. "They didn't erase my memories, Torrin. Instead, they erased yours." Torrin stopped walking, uneasiness crossing his face. "What are you talking about?" "We met when you and your friends came here a little over a month ago to reap the souls of my teammates. You even saved my life a few times, but that was okay because I wasn't really supposed to die. 3 Norns were trying to lure me to their side. When I refused, they decided to punish me. They erased your memories, so you wouldn't remember me." Torrin stared at me as though I had escaped from a psych ward. Then his expression hardened. "Listen, I've never seen you before 2 weeks ago. If I had, I would not have forgotten." "But it's true. How else could I know that you are a Valkyrie? We were neighbors. I saw you every day." He shook his head. "You couldn't have. Someone told you about me." He lifted his head and looked over my shoulder, his eyes narrowing. I'm going to snap his neck and trap him in hell's mist for eternity. I followed his gaze. Andrus was getting out of an SUV. Andrus didn't tell me about you. I haven't seen him since he reaped my friends' souls at the swim meet. You were supposed to be with him, but I had to reap a busload of school kids in Seattle. You're one of his girlfriends, aren't you? After I'd told him to leave mortals alone, he's back at it again. Did he promise to turn you? This wasn't how I expected things to go. I wouldn't let Andrus touch me if you paid me. You gave me the clues about who you are, and Andrus confirmed it. Torn's expression grew thunderous, and I knew I was screwed. I know about you because you told me. You were born during the reign of King Richard. You and your brother James fought during the Crusade, and that was where you turned into an immortal. When your brother died, you changed your surname from DeClaire to St. James to honor him. Torn stared at me intently, a slow grin lifting the corners of his sculptured lips. The smile didn't reach his sapphire eyes. Ah, now I know who you are. My heart skipped. You do? You're Lavania's new protege. It's just like her to do this to me. He started walking. I stared after him, so frustrated I could scream. Who the heck was Lavania? Surely my trainer wasn't here already. I didn't want to train. Not before I helped Torn remember us. I needed time with him. Alone. Did she ask you to kiss me, too? He asked over his shoulder. No, that was my brilliant idea. No matter what I said, he wouldn't believe me. Plan A had bombed. Feeling deflated, I added, I kiss all new guys in our cul-de-sac. Torn chuckled. That was a stupid explanation. Everyone in our cul-de-sac was either old or married. Maybe I could save face with a lie and move on to plan B. Make him fall in love with me again. The problem was, I had no idea what I'd done to make him fall for me in the first place. I was an average girl, while he was super hot. Silence hung heavily between us as we crossed Riverside Boulevard, the street running in front of our school. I glanced at him from the corner of my eyes and caught him studying me. I wasn't sure what I saw in his eyes. Pity? I hated to be pitied. Actually, I thought you were someone else. The lie rolled off my tongue with such ease I wondered why I hadn't started with it. Torn stopped walking, forcing me to stop too. His brow shot up. You mistook me for someone else. The outrage in his voice made me grin. Yep, my ex. Your ex-boyfriend looks like me. Torrin was no longer smiling. No, you look like him. Black hair, blue eyes, even the bike. You could be his doppelganger. Doppelganger, he said, like I had just called him a troll. His eyes narrowed, and then that sexy grin I loved curled his sculptured lips. Nice try. No one looks like me, Rain. The world couldn't handle two of me. His arrogance was rearing its ugly head, but I didn't care. He'd called me by my nickname. Soon he'd remember he always called me Freckles, a special nickname he coined because of the freckles on my nose. What's his name? He asked. What's whose name? Your ex-boyfriend. Blue Eyes, I said and grinned. I had called him Blue Eyes when we first met. Surely he'd remember. Torn snickered. What kind of stupid name is that? Hey, no disrespecting the nickname. He had dazzling eyes. Torn frowned while I warmed up to the subject. Maybe I could make him jealous. He had gorgeous hair, too, darker than yours. And his smile. I fanned myself. Sexiest ever. You know what the best part was? Not interested, he grumbled. Was that annoyance in his voice? He was completely crazy about me. What happened? He asked, his voice hard to describe. I glanced at him and caught him scowling. What do you mean? You keep talking about him in past tense. Did he leave you? I stopped. Suddenly I didn't feel like making him jealous anymore. Instead, anger washed over me, even though I had no idea who I was angry with. The Norns for erasing his memories, him for not even remembering the special name he'd given me, or me for not having a decent plan and feeling helpless. I hated feeling helpless. He didn't leave me, I ground out. He was taken from me. I finished in a shaky whisper, then turned and hurried into the school building. I didn't notice the stairs until I was by the lockers. People whispered behind their hands and threw me furtive glances. Others watched me with wide eyes or flashed uneasy smiles when our gazes met. The words witch and crazy reached me several times. Part of me cringed, wanting to run and hide. Another part had me returning stares. I'd saved lives during that stupid meet. Didn't that count for anything? Morgan, a girl I knew from my physics class, shuffled backwards as though I was a giant zit. Another girl grabbed her friend's arms and pulled her away, whispering something in her ear. One by one, they created space between us until I was an island, surrounded by gawking students. Rain! Cora pushed through the gathering crowd, hazel eyes filled with mischief. Look at you. That tan is fantabulous. I hope it rubs off. She brushed her arm against mine. I laughed, momentarily forgetting the gawkers. I'd missed her crazy humor. You're silly. You should have shared the love and brought me home some Hawaiian sun and hot cabana guys. She enveloped me in a big hug. Smile, ignore them. They're losers, she whispered in my ear. Before I'd left, she couldn't look me in the eye. Surprised and happy she wasn't scared of me anymore, I hugged her back. Oh, watch the ribs, she said. I released her, and she leaned back. When did you get back? Last night. She glowered. And you didn't text me? It was late. Like that's ever stopped you. Don't they have cell phone reception on those cruises? Don't answer that. You were busy with the cabana boy. I want to hear everything. She threw her things in the locker, removed her folder and some textbooks, and bumped me with her shoulder. Come on, start talking. The crowd parted to let us pass, but the stares and the whispers followed us. In the hallway, students saw us coming and pressed against the walls as though I was a disease-ridden subhuman. Their attitude hurt. What cabana boy? I asked. The one I told everyone swept you off your feet whenever they'd ask if I heard from you. When's Rain coming back? Did she change schools? Is it true she's in a psych ward? Is she a witch? Gah, people can be such tools. They made up stories, and the longer you were gone, the more outrageous they became. Cora glared at a group of girls and asked, What are you looking at? They flinched. Everyone knows what happened, I whispered. Yeah, I know. We told them your head injuries gave you psychic abilities. Watch this, she said, squeezing my hand. She paused by two girls, one of whom I'd recognized from my math class. Want to know your future?